Tennessee, the most crooked state in the nation. A study done by Harvard University and other studies show the real truth. Tennessee, the most corrupt state in the United States of America. And we're going to take you through the whole gamut of range of corruption that the Tennessee government is involved in. People in Tennessee government power, names, dates, times, and facts. So hang on, welcome. This is the Charles Van Morgan Show. A special news broadcast. We're going to cover the whole range, the gauntlet of intense punishment of the public that people in government power in the state of Tennessee are involved in punishing you. So welcome, welcome. Come on board. This is the Charles Van Morgan Show. Look at the beautiful Tennessee, in Tennessee, the beautiful American flag, right side up. So we seen some of them at the rally the other day turned upside down. So that's kind of disgusting, but not all those people at that May Day rally were discussing. So today we're talking about the whole gamut of Tennessee government corruption. And we're going to give you names, dates, times, and places, covering a whole broad range of issues where Tennessee people in Tennessee government have been involved in corruption. Some of it's been caught, and some of the people are still in power. And it's not the whole range of corruption. It's limited to what we've been able to uncover, what other journalists and news broadcasters and other independent reporters have been able to cover, not the whole range. There's a heck of a lot more than what we know about, but we're on it like a hound dog, hunting down the corruption to expose it. This is Charles Van Morgan, Unbridled News. We're not afraid to speak the truth, cautiously, not running out in front of gunfire, but the government is dangerous to you. It's dangerous to me, and exposing them is dangerous work. Make no mistake. So almost a full moon, if you'll take a second to enjoy the environment, what God's made, the beautiful moon. So thank y'all, come on in. And welcome, welcome. Got a few people on here. So we're gonna talk about the broad range of the gauntlet, intense series of punishment put on you by people in government power, and tell you about specific documented cases. And it's broad and vast. We'd cover more than a 2-hour show, but we're going to cover a bunch of it and go over it. This morning on the news, they're talking about Justin Mowry, the Blount County Sheriff's deputy that killed himself in a police pursuit of a motorcycle. Now, respectfully, that's what happened. And the person pled guilty to the charges brought against him that was running from him. And he got 20 years in prison. And respectfully to Justin Mowry, I was in numerous pursuits. And just like him, not in the result, but just like him, I was in a pursuit where I wrecked a patrol car trying to pursue a motorcycle. And I didn't kill myself, but I did make a mistake and have a wreck. I went off the road in a curve and hit a tree that crushed in the side of the car. Didn't hurt me at all, and I was suspended for a day for that. I was, in fact, at the time, trying to catch up to a county deputy to back him up because we were in pursuit of a motorcycle. And if the deputy caught the motorcyclist, and even in pursuit, I didn't want him to be by himself. So I was with another officer behind them trying to catch up to him to protect the public, putting my life at a little more risk than I normally would have, to protect my fellow officer. And a lot of officers would have done that. But The wreck that I had was not the fault of the motorcycle fleeing. He created the circumstances, but the wreck that I had was my fault. They suspended me for a day. I wrecked a patrol car. They were more worried about the patrol car than me. They told me it was like $5,000 damage. That's the crooked state highway patrol. Depending on who's your daddy, you're important or not important. And I was just a piece of meat to them. They didn't care if I died or not. They cared about their $5,000 damage to their patrol car, which, if you are out enforcing the law, chasing bad guys, and we all may have been guilty of that at one time or another, not necessarily running, but doing things we shouldn't have been doing, especially younger people. There's an age crime curve. People tend to age out of crime, especially violent or aggressive crimes. They age out of it. That's the well-known age crime curve phenomenon that's held true throughout generations, throughout history, throughout time. People age out of violent crime and violent, aggressive crime. Older people aren't involved usually in violent crimes. But he was killed. He killed himself in the process of doing his duty honorably. But it's not the fault that he died of the person that got 20 years in jail. Now, they charged him with what resulted in his death, but it's not his fault. The government teaches you how to think. They tell you how to think, and think about it realistically. If that man had got away, hadn't got away and the trooper caught him, would he got 20 years? So he's having to pay for the actions of the deputy that he had an obligation to try to protect himself. Now, everybody makes mistakes, and I'm not saying he should have died for it, but they have the Dustin Maury's mother there. And I know I'm being controversial, but I'm just telling you, they tell you how to think and use emotions to do it, which is good. And she didn't say anything negative. What she said was good, that Dustin would have told him to make good decisions and to trust in the Lord Jesus Christ. That is true. But the fact is, when I had a wreck in a patrol car pursuing a motorcycle, although in my heart, rightfully so, I was trying to protect the fellow deputy. I didn't want him to be by himself if he caught the motorcycle, so I was running really hard. The wreck was not the fault of the motorcycles. Now, although he created the circumstances, and I didn't get killed, but that was my fault, my bad decision. I went around a curve and almost slid off the curve, and then I should have slowed down, but I didn't. I went around another curve and didn't make it. Went airborne and hit a guide wire on a telephone pole, and went in a field, slid sideways and slammed into a tree, and it busted out the window. Didn't hurt me, but I could have been killed, I guess, if it had happened a little differently, because I literally went off the road pursuing a motorcycle, trying to catch up to a deputy in a high-speed pursuit. Now, that was my fault. My decision wasn't the fault of the person that was running. Now, he created that environment, but he wasn't charged with my death because I didn't die, and he wouldn't have been responsible for that anyway. So the government teaches you how to think about things, and they tell you how we should punish people differently than others, regardless of whose fault it is or what circumstance created it, and regardless of people's own bad decisions. So what I'm saying is, I know I've been there, my boots been on the ground, and had I wrecked personally in that pursuit, I was the one responsible. And had I been killed, it would have been my fault, because I wasn't doing something right that I should have been doing. We all make mistakes. Now, that's a hard penalty to pay, but I'm just saying that the person running shouldn't be doing that. But whether I live or die is beyond his control. He's just trying to get away, which is what they do for whatever illegitimate reason, but the fact that I died trying to pursue them, I don't think should have much of a bearing on the outcome of the penalty. But the government's going to tell you how to think with emotion, his mother there, and the honorable sacrifice that he made. But Justin Morey, just like me, made a mistake in his driving. And that had nothing to do with the motorcyclist. It could have been anybody running, and people do. They get scared, all kinds of reasons. We're responsible for our own conduct. But the government tells you how to think, and they pass laws to give people more time in prison and do all kinds of things to lock people up for a longer period of time, because that's what they want. They want everybody and their brother except them locked up, unless, of course, the person is providing a benefit for people in government power, and then they'll let you out of jail long enough to take care of what needs to be done, and as soon as it's done, then they'll lock you up again. So we need to think for ourselves. That's my whole point of that incident, is although it's very powerful and compelling the way the government tells you to think, you can think that way if you want to. That's fine. I get it. You have your choice. But you don't have to think the way the government tells you to think. It's not a requirement under our Constitution. There's no thought crimes. If you act on illegal activity, that's one thing, but you can think however you want to think. You don't have to, regardless of the compelling nature of what they're trying to tell you, you don't have to think that way. You don't have to take what they say verbatim, because they're crooks and they lie and they cover up stuff, and they tell you how to think, not for your benefit, to cover up their damn crimes, to cover up what they're doing dirty to you, to cover up what they're doing wrong. They tell you how to think in almost everything. They try to tell you how to think. Don't think that way if you don't want to. You don't have to think that way. And I'm talking from experience. I have literally, just like Justin Morey, been in a pursuit of a motorcycle. Literally, I have been. I know what I'm talking about. I've been there, done that. And that's one way you know what's going on. Let's get across this road here. See if we got a bunch of people watching us, just a few. So, but I've literally been there, done that, and didn't get a cookie for it. and had a wreck, got suspended over it, and I should have been suspended because I didn't drive appropriately, although there's stress involved, and I was in other pursuits, a lot of other ones where I didn't. That one I was running extra hard because I was trying to catch up to the deputy, trying to protect him. And they had too much of a lead on me. So I wrecked, no harm, no damage. You know, they build cars every day. Having damage to a car is not a big deal. It's really not. The big deal is when people get hurt and dead. That's the big deal. Property can be replaced. It's nothing. It's nothing. It can be replaced. So don't listen to everything the government tells you and believe it. Consider the alternative views. And a lot of people know, if you've been in circumstances where you've lived through what they're trying to tell you, you can say, no, it's not that way, because you know you've lived it. I've lived that circumstance that Justin Morey was in. And I know that the ultimate Sheriff's Department is actively involved in prosecuting the defendant in that case. He got 20 years, pled guilty. The Sheriff's Department ought to be actively involved in their part of the equation. They're part responsible. I'm just saying, they have a training academy that they send officers to, and a lot of it is faulty training. Are they looking into that, or just trying to hammer the person that was a criminal and doing what they do? Never raised their hand, swore to uphold the law, swore to uphold the Constitution. A citizen in the state of Tennessee, young citizen that got under the influence of drugs and did something wrong and made a mistake and didn't kill anybody, didn't murder, kill anybody, probably never intended for anybody to be dead. I'm sure intended to get away from law enforcement for his crime of stealing a motorcycle and probably being under the influence of drugs. Now, he's very dangerous, and he could have run over somebody else, should have been prosecuted, but what I'm saying is he's not responsible for somebody else's decision. Even if they wear a gun and a badge, he's not responsible for that. He wouldn't have been responsible for me, the motorcycle that ran for me, had I died, I would have been responsible. I was running too hard, didn't drive right, made a mistake in that particular pursuit, learned from it, went on. But I know from being there doing that the way they're trying to make you think that the person paid and the law enforcement's honorable, and look at the sacrifices they have to make. When that's a sacrifice they don't have to make, because they can, like me personally, I can look in the mirror, I can drive better. I can not get so hyped up and make a mistake. And a lot of that was the department, the law enforcement agency, the Tennessee Highway Patrol pushing me to write a number of tickets to catch everybody, to make a lot of money for the state and the state highway patrol and cities and counties was the reason why I wrecked. So are they going to put people in government power in jail for 20 years? No, they're going to focus all of the blame on one young man that made a mistake when he was young, which is when most people make mistakes. The age crime curve, a scientific phenomenon. People age out of crime. And a lot of times, you can probably think back. When you were younger, you did some things that could have got you killed or could have got somebody else killed. That's probably more normal than not. In sociology, criminology, they call it the age crime curve. If you think I'm just talking, making up stuff up, look it up. Look up the age crime curve. It'll tell you what that young man did, fleeing that officer. Now, while not all people are involved in high-speed pursuits running from police or on drugs, most people that are involved in violent crimes and aggressive crimes like that are younger people. It's a phenomenon that has existed throughout all generations and all times. So it's going to happen. We know that. So instead of hammering these people for something that's real common, destroying their whole life, why don't we focus on knowing that people are going to run, younger people especially. Focus on our own driving behavior as law enforcement and their own training. They don't do that because, quite frankly, they don't care about deputy sheriffs on the road. They don't care about the Tennessee state trooper that puts his boot on the ground every day enforcing traffic laws, dangerous work. They don't care about them. They care about them only if they've got a relative who's their daddy, who's in power, who's the governor that's related to them. They care about them kissing the ring, and they don't care about them at all. In fact, if you stand up to them for the right reasons, like I'm doing, they will try to kill you. They will try to destroy you. And I know that for a fact. I've been there, done that. I don't think the way the government tells me to think, because I see things with my own eyes from reality. And what I'm asking you all to do is don't see things the way they tell you to. Don't agree everything they tell you. While not everything they tell you, absolutely everything they tell you is wrong, most of it is. Most of it is indoctrination into the, as we talked about in another video, the government religion. It's a religion. Government's a religion. They worship themselves and other people in government power. It's a religion, and they can do no wrong. But yes, they can. They get it wrong for you a lot. And it's very damaging and hurtful to you. And that's what we're talking about. We're exposing their corruption, their crimes, while everybody's focusing on Justin Maury and the person who was convicted of fleeing from him that ultimately resulted in him making a wrong driving decision and killing himself, which is what I did when I was in pursuit of a motorcycle. I made a wrong driving decision and I didn't hurt myself. I wrecked a patrol car. That was my fault. It could have been in pursuit of several people that I was involved in. I was involved in numerous pursuits. The Highway Patrol encouraged pursuits of people. And they won't tell you that, but they encouraged pursuing people and wanted you to do that. And I always knew that that's real good. People like to have that power and authority to be able to pursue people, because a lot of police departments won't let officers pursue people because there's too much liability involved in it. Not liability in people getting killed that they're worried about. The liability involved in money that the city has to pay out in tax money when people get hurt or killed, or property damage involved in high-speed pursuits, because that happens a lot. But you can't just let them go, everybody go, because then everybody would know all you gotta do is punch the gas and they'll stop, turn around, which is what a lot of city police departments do, which causes a lot increased running. So you can't just let them all go. But the fact of the matter is this: don't believe how the government tells you to think. Even when they use highly emotional, deadly incidences, question your thoughts. Question your ideals and opinions. Are they necessarily in agreement with reality, with the way things are? Have you ever been there? Do you know? Or are you taking somebody else's word for it that's in the government, that's telling you how to think? Now that's a big cautionary thing. If somebody in government power is telling you how to think, how to see things, then that is hugely suspect, because they've got some underlying reason that benefits them, not you, benefits them. So all this focus on Justin Maury and an honorable officer, I'm not diminishing what he did. He was in the performance of his duties, risking his life for the public safety, and may God bless his family and protect them. But just like me in a pursuit, he made a mistake. And the focus is on the bad guy at that time that ran, that's still alive, thank the good Lord in heaven. And he shouldn't have done that. He's pled guilty, 20 years in jail. But what about the focus? Where's the focus on what will really make things better? Where's the focus on that? What will make things better? Putting him in jail for 20 years is not going to make things better. What that'll do is make people try to run and conceal themselves better. And hopefully they won't get caught. Because as far as I know, he didn't turn himself in. So that just makes them try to run harder and better. And a lot of laws and things are set up to make people try to elude being captured by law enforcement, because their aim is to lock you up for longer. So they'll just try to do you in. So that just increases people's means and methods of covering up their crimes, and they're fleeing. It doesn't help law enforcement. What would help law enforcement is if they focus on themselves and what they can do to better train officers not to have wrecks in pursuits. And one of the things that they can do is not idolize certain people over other people in law enforcement. In law enforcement, in order to get anything, even keep your job, if you're on the bottom of the rung, you have to do an enormous amount of work and be enormously successful in your arrest rates, in arresting drunk drivers. Just like the Highway Patrol, as part of the corruption, has a quota for drunk drivers on people. And we'll read you some of the quotes. If you don't do a certain level of activity, then and ticket writing and arrest, then according to them, their own words, you'll get spanked. Now that applies to people that were on the patrol like me, and probably Justin Maury, had he been on with the Highway Patrol. The pressure that's put on people at the bottom of the rung to be highly effective. And it matters. If you are not, your job is gone. So your job rest on when you're behind the motorcycle attempting to catch that person. But they don't look at that. They look at the fleeing criminal that's running. What about the criminal that's in government power, that's controlling all the rules that we play by, and they need to change the rules and have a level playing field for all officers on the road, not just privilege their specialized one, like Matt Perry, the colonel of the Highway Patrol, who was not on patrol for the most part of his career. He worked in administrative division, had sweetheart jobs, sweetheart deals, didn't ever have to put his life in danger, would have never had to work or meet a ticket quota or do anything that he's mandating that other people do now. Wow, so put him under the same standard. But I know all this because I've been there, seen it, done that, and I know what it's like to be pressured and forced and held accountable for stuff there's no way you can do. You can't see stuff off the side of the road in the dark. You can't go 90 miles an hour around curves like a criminal is willing to do. You got to protect yourself, and you got to protect other people, and catching the person you're pursuing should not determine whether or not you get to keep your job. It's whether you do it safely and effectively. Depending on what happens to the person that's fleeing should not affect your job. That's on them. Depending on who you are, had that been Matt Perry, the relative of the Supreme Court injustice, then he would have been fine. They would have got an expert to say there's no way he could have seen it. And they would have got their own expert, like they used against me, that said there's no way he could have seen it. So being more fair across the board and not forcing some troopers to be Superman, and then their privileged few who's their daddy's boy to get by with whatever with murder, because some of them have literally shot and killed people, and they're in the training academy right now at the Tennessee Highway Patrol, and that's never been fully investigated. I know what they say. I know what they tell you happened, but let's look at video and let's find out what happened at the moment and the preceding time before that, because the Highway Patrol and people in government power try to tell you how to think, and if you got the whole story, or if you have somebody that's actually lived there, done that, been there, then they might tell you that that's not the way it is, what they're trying to tell you to think. Don't think the way the government tells you to. Make up your own mind. Challenge what they're telling you. Is this really the way it works out? Or is there any way that I can know? And if there's no way you can know, don't trust what they say. Don't trust what they say. Now, I'm not saying don't obey the law. I'm saying don't believe the government that writes the laws, that they're right all the time, and seek for positive change, because I'm going to show you today how the government lies, and it's dangerous to you and dangerous to police officers. Challenge your thinking as far as the government, because we have a two-party system now, and both parties are crooked as hell. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is the whole gamut of wrongdoing as far as I've been able to determine. It's not really the whole gamut, it's just some of the government corruption. And we're going to talk about it. Hang on with me. Names, dates, times. We're going to call these crooks out for who they are. Go over a long list of incredible, horrific crimes and disastrous things that people in power have done. The gauntlet, the intense harm that they've inflicted on the Tennessee public in the state of Tennessee. The gauntlet. And we're going to go through the whole gamut as far as we know of the intense wrongs and pressure wrongfully that people in government power have put you under. We can cover a wide range of topics, from the Speaker of the House to the Highway Patrol to the governor to politics and the gerrymandering. And we're going to show you what the gerrymandering can benefit us, because gerrymandering is where they reassign a district. They redraw the map to dilute one party over the other voters, and redraw the voting districts to where it gives one side more of an advantage than the other one. And they're redrawing it in Tennessee. Like if they have, for example, in downtown Nashville, say they have 1,000 Democratic voters that will vote Democrat every time. And we're talking about how the gerrymandering can help us. And we're not even doing it. We can think how we want to. So they have 1,000 Democratic voters that vote Democrat downtown Nashville. And on the outskirts of Nashville, they have 2,000 Republican voters. All around the outside of Nashville, 2,000 Republican voters. I'm just saying, for instance. And this is gerrymandering. So in the Nashville district, they're going to get a representative that's a Democrat, because everybody in Nashville is going to vote Democrat. So if they have that little circle of Democrats downtown Nashville, then all of them going to vote Democrat, and they're going to have a Democratic representative in Washington. So what gerrymandering does is it draws a line right through the middle of Nashville. And they have 2,000 on the outside, and they literally draw maps all kinds of crazy ways to get their votes weeded out and Republicans drawn in, and Democrats do the same thing. So if they got 1,000 votes downtown Nashville, 2,000 on the outskirts, all around the outskirts, if they do it the way they are, then on the outside they get a Republican representative, because it's 2,000 Republicans and they're voting Republican. On the inside of Nashville, they get 1,000 Democrats, so they get a Democratic representative. If that's the way the line's drawn, the circle in Nashville, and the outside is the lines drawn for the representative outside Nashville. So the way they control the gerrymandering, the way they control the representatives, they draw a line right through Nashville, and they take the 1,000 and cut it into 500 on both sides, and redraw the map where that 500 goes with the 2,000 on the outside. And that's the district that goes right through the middle of Nashville, cuts off the 1,000, breaks it into 500, puts it with the 2,000 Republicans on the other outside, does that on both sides, so you have the 1,000 diluted into 500 paired with the overwhelming 2,000. They don't dilute that. Now they would dilute that if it was a Democrat in power, they'd dilute the 2,000 by redrawing the map. So that's how they get, then when the Democrats vote, instead of being able to vote in their whole district, originally they're only voting for half of it, paired with the Republicans, they get outnumbered, so the whole area is red instead of blue in the middle, because they've diluted the blue. That's gerrymandering. And the Supreme Court the other day decided, where previously it was you can't gerrymander based on race, like if the whole middle was partly African American, who are mostly Democratic voters. A lot of them not, but for the most part they are. That's just a fact. For whatever reason, a lot of it's for good reason. There's nothing wrong with Democrat people. There's not. Some of their views I don't hold. Some of the Democratic people hold views the same as me. It's a party. It doesn't mean a lot other than for the parties. But if you vote mostly Democrat and you want a Democratic representative, maybe a pro-life Democrat representative, then you won't get a Democratic representative because they've redrew the lines, diluted your vote to where it doesn't matter, whereas before, if they hadn't redrew the line, then your vote would count and you'd get a Democrat. But before, they couldn't do that because you can't redraw the lines based on race before. Now, they've changed, the Supreme Court has changed the ruling to make it easier to be legal to redraw the districts. It has to be a significant reason that they're redrawing. If they can explain some other reason other than race, then they still get to do it. Let's get across the road here. So many people got in here. Just a few. So now they can, it's easier for them to do the little gerrymandering deal because they don't have to excuse that they're doing it for race. They can still do it based on race and say another reason. So the United States Supreme Court has made it easier for anywhere in the United States of America to redraw voting districts to dilute one party over the other, depending on who's in power. At the time, we'll redraw the voting districts to favor their voters, so they get more representation than the other party by diluting the other side's votes and increasing theirs. So what that does, basically, it gives people in power the ability to stay in power longer because they're getting more representation by diluting the votes on the other side by redrawing the maps. So right or wrong, you make your own decision, but that's what gerrymandering is. The courts have went in favor of being able to do that. But the reason that can help independent candidates is because it makes a lot of people mad that they are diluting their votes. And the Democratic Party is going to lose in Tennessee. The governor just called a special session in the state of Tennessee to redraw the maps to dilute the Democratic vote in Memphis. And that's what they're doing. They're diluting the Democratic Party in Memphis to combine Memphis voters along voting geographics with more Republicans, so to where Tennessee will be all red. And I'd say they will get it done. I've heard the news, and people on the news the other day said that the commentators, the political commentators, both of them, Republican, Democrat, said that they doubted that they would call a special session to do that. Well, guess what? You're wrong. They just called a special session. The governor just called a special session to redraw the voting districts in Memphis. Just put out a proclamation the other day. So he did. They were both wrong. He did. They didn't think he would. He did. It's a done deal. And now they're saying they don't think that they're going to be able to get it done. I believe that they will, because it's a Republican legislature. And the Republican candidate for governor that's got all the money and all the corporate backing is pushing it. So even though it's a lame duck governor, welcome, come on board. Even though it's a lame duck governor, they'll still be able to do that, I bet. So they're going to dilute your vote in Memphis. I got more votes in Memphis than I did in any other city. Now it's because it's more populated. But Memphis, Shelby County loves Charles Van Morgan. Thank you, Shelby County. They're diluting your vote. So the way that helps us is both parties do that. And if the district's all red, That keeps us from having to, if we ever get in power, from having to fight the extremist Democrats, because the whole state will be purple because the other side has been diluted out to where they don't matter. So if we were able to get in power, that would dilute the other side's votes. So actually for us, they're doing the dirty work for us that we won't have to do. If we get in power, makes it easiest, we'll just have to fight one party that's already laid the groundwork instead of two, if that were to happen, if the Lord willing and the creek don't rise. But that's unlikely to happen. We're on the ballot, on the governor's ballot, to get statewide recognition, to get my name out there in the public, in the news, on the ballot, in order to get public attention. People that have never seen us before will look at the ballot that haven't voted and see my name on there, check out my channel, and listen to what truth that I've got to say. So it helps us in, it was a lot of work, it's not free, but it helps us in getting public attention, to put our feet where our mouth is, to run for public office. You see a lot of these commentators and these news people and these journalists that work for, some of them independent, some of them for the mainstream media, that put out a lot of journalism. Nobody ever hears it. So you got to get your name out there. You got to get on the public stage. But that's a lot of hard work, other than just putting out news all the time. You gotta fight the war, the battle, if you're serious and intense about it, on several different fronts. Just one of them is the governor's ballot. Now our chances of winning, unless people wake up, and it's possible, our name's in the hat. I mean, it's more likely than winning the lottery. But even if we lose, we win, it gets our name out there. And people get to hear about the gauntlet, about the intense government corruption, because they would have never heard my name had I not been on the ballot. So it accomplishes, at least at minimum, that a few more eyes on the truth, a few more people hearing. Challenge what the government tells you. Challenge it. Challenge how you think about what the government tells you. It may or may not be true, and the most of the time, I will tell you straight up, it is not true. It's an absolute lie from an expert opinion who is educated, have a Master of Arts in sociology and advanced level knowledge of how things work. Not the way they're supposed to, the way they work. And the government works to control you, to benefit a small group of people in their favor every time, all the time, and breadcrumbs you a little bit. So challenge how you think about what they're trying to tell you. Unless you've been there, done that, or know somebody else that you trust that's been there and done that, don't believe a damn word they say. They're lying through their teeth. They're committing crimes, stealing from you, telling you it's in your best interest. They're doing that every day. And I've been through the gauntlet, and that's why I'm here telling you that, because I know what I'm talking about. I've seen it, got an education, I've seen it in real time. It's not good for you. Don't trust them. From gerrymandering to all the other crimes and offenses, mostly financial, that they have committed, they're not for your benefit one iota. They breadcrumb you to get you to keep buying their lies. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We got a lot of information, hang on with me, you won't be disappointed, about government crimes and people in power. And we pulled the records that no one else has pulled to show you what these dirtbags are doing in the name of public service, which is really just self-service. And we're doing them a favor. It is so very gluttonous, it's not even good for them. They're damaging their own selves. That's how damaging and how crooked it is, and that's how stupid they are. They're hurting themselves. They're not just hurting you, they're hurting themselves. They're eating too much, they're getting too much, where it's not even good for them. So we love our neighbor as ourselves, and we love these people, and we hate them with perfect hatred to a point that are doing you wrong. We're going to call them out by name, telling you exactly what they're doing that nobody else does or afraid to, at the level that I'm doing, to the extent and the intensity that I'm doing it. Because just like when I was in law enforcement, I did a better job than any trooper in the state at what I did, lowering the fatality rate, because I was intense and I prepared and I was good and ready to do it. And by the numbers don't lie, I did it better than anybody else. I arrested more drunk drivers than any trooper in the state, people who were really drunk, and did it effectively. The fatality rate was lower when I was on the road. Now, it has skyrocketed for the past over 10 years because of government corruption, because of how dirty these people are. The same intensity I'm going at fighting government corruption for you, to protect lives and property, protect citizens in the state of Tennessee. So subscribe to the channel. You won't hear this with this level of intensity, this level of truth anywhere else other than Charles Van Morgan Unbridled News. And I'm not just a candidate, I'm a civil litigant. I'm a law school graduate, passed the bar. This YouTube channel, if you help me today, we will get over 3 million views in the past about 7 months today, if I get your help. So welcome, hang on board, and we'll uncover the corruption in the state of Tennessee. So we got a few people on here. We'll wait for some more. We're not going to wait to have the dialogue. They can go over. We'll let you see the beautiful view here in Knoxville. Lowest test scores. Every time I see this guy, he's walking. Is he allowed to drive? Yeah. Slander will get you nowhere. So thank y'all for joining me. Subscribe to the channel. As you look at the beautiful view, help me get the message out, and like the channel and subscribe to it. So we've got a lot of information to go over today, a whole gamut of political corruption by people in power, devastating lives lost. And they tell you how to think about it. They cost people's lives, and we didn't do it. It was somebody else. They commit crimes, steal money, and we didn't do it. It is legal for us to do this, because even if it was legal at the time, they rewrite the laws to make it legal for them to do that. And we're going to be very specific. Hold on, we're going to tell you how they do what they do. And if you continue to vote for these people, you'll continue getting the same damn crooked stuff that they're doing to you. So beautiful day, beautiful weather, Monday morning, good Monday morning. So if you look at the view of Knoxville City, the Sun Sphere, and the church steeple. So we're almost to our signature location. Tennessee ranked #1 most corrupt state in America. According to Harvard University, the Daily Beast, Indiana University, they said it all independently with data, and we're going to show you how they do that. So Tennessee was ranked the most corrupt state in the United States by several university studies using data, using math, using science, and numbers don't lie. And we're going to explain to you how they do that, how they're able to accomplish the theft and deception that they do, and tell you how I think about these things that they don't think I got a right to say. That's what they locked me up for, how I think about these things. And I'm not shy in saying that. Hello. I'm not shy in saying that. And I know what they say, and we're going to tell you what they say while they're robbing, stealing, causing a fatality rate to skyrocket, causing you to have a high potential of getting dead like a lot of your loved ones and friends, by telling you how to think about their public corruption. And we'll see what happens. Subscribe to the channel, donate, keep this newscast going, because no one else is going to do this to the extent and level that I do. They've got a news channel they've got to worry about pleasing the upper echelon that's involved in the state-sponsored media. In Russia, they have state-sponsored media. Media that has to obey what the government says. In Iran, they have state-sponsored media that put out messages. According to the Iran media, they're winning the war. Yeah, they're decimated over there. In the United States of America, they have surreptitiously state-sponsored media in America. This isn't state-sponsored. This is sponsored by you, hopefully. Donate, hit the antidote link, and donate to this news media channel that is unbridled. We're going to tell you the horrific truth of all that's going on. Today we got a whole list of things that we want to point you to and tell you how I think about it. Now you can disagree or not agree. I'm going to tell you how I think about it from an educated expert point of view, not controlled by the state-sponsored media, by the state government in Tennessee. Because we're going to call them out by name for the crooks that they are. From Cameron Sexton to crooked Governor Bill Lee, High Bills Lee, to the man behind the curtain, High Bills has been, the former governor. And we're going to cover about the past 16 years. Not all of it, just stuff that's become available that we know by seeing it, and stuff that other reporters have reported it, and we're going to put it all together and tell you the gauntlet that they put you through in this crooked state of Tennessee. And so hang on, we got some really good stuff you'll want to know, and you can think about however you want to. I'm not going to be shy. I'm going to tell you what I think, and it is some real compelling stuff. So the way we can deal with it is vote. Voters of truth and rage, we can get out and vote and show that Tennesseans are paying attention. And we're not happy with the rogue government. Either party, Republicans or Democrats both, that are trying to X out the other party, trying to X out representation of minority parties. And they've literally tried to stop me from speaking the truth to power you all, which does it look like it's working? It's not working. Now, the only thing that can stop it is if we lack funding. So please support the channel. If you can't give money, that helps print leaflets, that helps us stay on the air, that helps us travel to cover news stories, then subscribe to the channel, like the channel, and call your neighbors and friends and tell them the truth is spoken here on Unbridled News. So at our signature location here, thank y'all for joining me. as you look at the beautiful view. So, according to Howard University, the Daily Beast, Indiana University, and universities worldwide, Tennessee ranked number 1, the most corrupt state in the nation. Not my words. So they all said it independently with data. Follow the bribe money. Researchers studied corruption across all 50 states and found a pattern. Corrupt states pour money into construction, highway, and contracts. Why? That's what corrupt states do. They pour money into all these things. And we'll look at Tennessee and tell you why they do that and explain to you how Tennessee is covered. Let me get a drink here. They spend money on highways and construction because, as you can see, the road backed up here. Is all their money doing any good? They got a bridge on the other side over there tore up. So, researchers studied corruption across all 50 states and found a pattern. Corrupt states pour money into construction, highways, and contracts. Why? Because that's where you steer the deal to your donor. That's where you inflate the bid and pocket the difference. Big contracts, easy to rig, hard to trace. That's where the bribes live. So that's why they steer them into road contracts. They're easy to manipulate because you steer the money to your friends and rig the contracts and hide the money, and they starve everything else. Healthcare spending, education, welfare spending, they go straight to regular people, teachers, patients, families. No contractors to bribe, no middleman to shake down. That's where the money doesn't go, because it goes straight to regular people, harder to bribe. No contractor bribe, no middleman to shake down, nothing in it for the machine. So the machine cuts it. Tennessee bottom of the country in education spending. Top of the list for corporate giveaways to politically connected companies. Same budget, same state, 2 set of priorities. 1 for donors and the rest for you. So, the fire hose is on. Nearly 3 million people have watched this channel. Zero corporate backing, zero party machine, zero apology. And what you're about to hear is documented fact, named officials, named companies, named victims, public records I pulled myself. That's what the mainstream press won't string together for you. I will. Stay with me. So they streamline all the money into roads and contracts where they can hide the money instead of to things that go to the people. This is the through line. Everything I'm about to show you follows the same pattern. The powerful get the contract, the grant, the tax cut, the protection. The working people get the bill. You get the bill. The rest, the fine, and this is the saddest, the funeral. I've seen it happen in real time. You get the funeral. You get the funeral. And today I'm going to prove it to you story by story. The Haslam family cheat. Pilot Flying J, Knoxville, Tennessee, a 5-year diesel rebate fraud against working truckers across America. 14 employees went to prison. The family bought a sports team. So only people at the bottom of the ring went to prison. The Haslams got more money, bought themselves out of prison. Sales teams were trained to short trucking customers on diesel rebates. And the internal code name was jacking the discount. Specific instructions targeted the less savvy customers. They targeted Hispanic, non-English speaking truck drivers. The ones less likely to notice, less likely to fight back. That's not a mistake, that's a strategy. What they did was they promised these trucking companies a rebate depending on the price of fuel. And when the price went down, they fudged it and didn't give them the rebate, making millions and millions of dollars. The FBI recording. The FBI raided Pilot Flying J headquarters in April 2013 under a Democratic president, and it was a Republican governor. Would it have happened under a Republican president and a Republican governor, or a Democratic president and a Democratic governor? I doubt it. The FBI raided Pilot Flying J headquarters in April 2013. Undercover recordings captured the national sales director teaching the technique of how to fudge the rebates. Jimmy Haslam, CEO, was identified on an undercover tape. He denied knowledge. He was never charged. Of course not. The walk. The company paid $92 million to the Department of Justice. One condition: the company itself would not be prosecuted. The top executive's conviction was later thrown out on a technicality, because the judge allowed evidence that he shouldn't have allowed, that evidence that was unfairly prejudicial. And it has to be highly unfairly prejudicial. And the judge allowed that evidence. So the whole prosecution of him was thrown out. They could re-prosecute him, but they decided not to because they say they can't afford it. Federal prosecutors then moved to dismiss, citing limited resources. Limited resources for a $92 million fraud. Ordinary employees took the prison time. The Haslam family took the franchise. And that's the way it works in Tennessee. That's how I'm telling you to think. That's not what they tell you to think. They say they weren't involved. I say they took the franchise, and ordinary employees pled guilty. And they did prison time. The dynasty. Bill Haslam, governor of Tennessee, 2011 to 2019, and he's behind the curtain right now. They've had this state for 16 years. Worth an estimated $2 billion, he was the wealthiest sitting governor in America at that time. Why? Because he was smart? I don't think so. I think his conscience is seared. He has no conscience. And I'll give him the opportunity to correct wrong, but he won't do that. If he's not so wicked, why won't he correct wrong? He knows he won't correct it. He don't think he has to because he doesn't believe in God. I do. He can correct his wrong, and I'll talk about how he corrected his wrong and did right in whatever area, but he won't do that because his conscience is seared. He has no conscience. He'll do whatever he wants for a dollar bill. That's what their God is, and it's government. But I'm not ruthless in when somebody holds up the white flag. We'll give them the chance to surrender and put them on trial, but he won't hold up the white flag. So we have to symbolically put out this truth about him. That's exactly what I'm doing. In 2025, he became the majority owner of the Nashville Predators. His brother Jimmy owns the Cleveland Browns and Columbus Crew. The family that ran a 5-year cheat against truckers, still the most powerful Republican donor network in Tennessee. That's how it works. A cheating company, owners that got completely scot-free out of jail, paid $92,000 to get out of jail, and their employees went to jail for crimes that their voice was heard when they were talking about the crimes, at least as far as Jimmy Haslam is concerned. When Bill Haslam was the governor at the time the crime was ongoing, are the leaders, the most powerful Republican donor network in Tennessee right now. Mr. Bill Haslam is campaigning for the Knox County mayor, presently sticking his ugly head up where I will dismantle him symbolically. So he's still trying to run power in Knox County, not so Knox County can be run right, so he can have his hand in the coffers of the Knox County tax money and have his hand in the Knox County government so he can get his will. Thy will be done if you vote for him, the governor, not yours. So let's go on. The gas tax trade. While governor, Haslam raised your gas tax, promised 962 road projects completed in 10 years. Tennessee Department of Transportation later admitted it would take over 20 years. So he promised 10, it's actually 20. And it gets worse. It gets worse. A hell of a lot worse. Thank you for the contributions, we appreciate it. It gets a hell of a lot worse. So he promised 10, it was 20 years for road projects. He raised your gas tax, promising road projects completed in 10 years. They later admitted that it'll take 20 years. $187 million a year, money you paid at the pumps for roads. So the price of gas is high today. When you go pump gas, a lot of it went to Governor Bill Haslam and his government, his state-run government that's still in effect now. So if you're mad about gas prices and you're blaming the Iran war, why don't you put the blame where the blame is due on your Tennessee government officials right now at your gas pump right here in the state of Tennessee, that the money went to Bill Haslam's government, funds his government. That's where your gas bill is going to fund Bill Haslam's government so that he can have power and reign and rule and get benefits over you and his proxy. That's why you're paying high gas prices. Not because we're being protected from a nuclear weapon of Iran that's necessary. They could end the gas tax right now, but then the government wouldn't have as much of your money to control you. So $187 million a year, money you paid at the pump for roads, diverted into the general fund. So that gas tax was diverted into Bill Haslam's state-run government. He runs the state. It was paid to him. $187 million you paid at the pump, diverted into the general fund. Wasn't paid on the roads like he said it would be as an excuse to raise your taxes for you. It's diverted into a state-run government for his benefit and his proxies. Spent on whatever the political class decided. That's only half the story. It's half the story. They diverted it into partly the emergency fund, where it's increased even today, the highest emergency fund in Tennessee history. That emergency fund that they got set up is not an emergency for you. They'll breadcrumb you out of that. It's an emergency fund for them. So they diverted the gas tax into an emergency fund for them. While at the same time, Haslam ended the inheritance tax and the gift tax. So he ended his own taxes. Hello?
Morning.
So he ended his own taxes while he's raising your taxes. He ended his own taxes while he's raising your taxes. He ended the inheritance tax and the gift tax. That's a tax that's paid exclusively by the super rich, not just rich, the super rich. You know, he was the richest governor at the time in America. So he ended his taxes while raising your taxes, and your taxes increased his state-run government, his state-run media, his state-run propaganda machine, and help him build a bigger government to serve him. And that's what you're paying for now at the gas tax. So if you're mad about the gas taxes, hold up a picture of former Governor Bill Haslam, and that's who to blame. The taxes paid exclusively by the super rich, the inheritance tax and the gas tax. He ended that. So when they pass down massive fortunes to their children, that's the inheritance tax, which is fair that they should pay a tax on that, and they've ended the fairness because no one is worth billions of dollars. They've had to exploit people to get that much money. They haven't paid them the wages they were due, so they've exploited people to get that much money. And the inheritance tax is a way, it's not socialism, to pay it back to society because you've exploited society in the first place to get it. So it's leveling the playing field to be more fair, but he ended it. It's not a level playing field, it's all in his favor. Haslam himself was worth $2 billion. He raised taxes on the working poor, driving to work. He eliminated taxes on billionaires, inheriting fortunes. That's the way I'm telling you to think about things. I know the way they tell you to think about things. They tell you, oh, socialism. And I'm against socialism too, against socialism for the super rich, the billionaires that rigged the system, getting government power to end their own taxes, not to make things better for you. That's what he's done. That's how I'm telling you to think about things. That's how I know. That's why God put me through the battle, so I know how they do. He eliminated taxes on billionaires, inheriting fortunes, raised taxes on working people driving to work. That's what they did. He picked your pocket at the pump. He freed his class from the tax rolls. Same bill, same governor, two sets of rules. That's socialism for the rich. They're not really against socialism. They're against socialism for the poor. They're against fairness for the poor. They're in favor of socialism for the rich. That's the problem. I'm not. They don't tell you that. They want to say socialism, oh, socialism. Then why are they making it a socialistic government for the super rich, which is exactly what they're doing? That's how I'm telling you to think, because that's the damn truth. That's the damn truth. That's what they're doing. Laughing all the way to the damn bank while they got you convinced that you shouldn't get your fair share. You shouldn't get a fair wage for a fair day's work, that they should get part of your work pay while they're doing not a damn thing except for exploiting you, which is exactly what they're doing every damn day. Democrats and Republicans both. The bottom line, you paid more at the pump, the roads took longer, the billionaires paid less, the truckers got cheated, the employees went to prison, the family bought professional sports teams. That's not physical conservationism. That's not a smaller government. That's the boot on your neck calling itself a tax cut. What a crooked bunch. What a crooked bunch of thugs. These people are. Crooked bunch of thugs. These people are. And we will go on. So we're talking about the Speaker of the House of Representatives in Tennessee right now in real time. Cameron Sexton. Now just the other day, he was in a Ford Expedition being driven by your tax money on his way to a trip at the airport while you're on your way to work, and his driver, a Tennessee state trooper, was speeding through a construction zone. He was stopped by a Metro Nashville police officer, justifiably. He had no reason to be running an emergency, didn't have on blue lights or siren. And he was stopped, and the trooper got into a confrontation with the Metro Nashville police officer who was legitimately stopping him, and he first wouldn't even stop. They think they're above the law. And he told him that he was speeding through a construction zone. It's endangering the public. And the trooper told him that he was the law. So they think they're the law. They can do whatever they want to endanger your life. And I know they do. And the Speaker of the House didn't. But his representative filed a complaint about the Metro police officer doing his job, because they can speed, they can do whatever they want to do. He didn't go to jail for 20 years in a small pursuit from the Metro Police Department, like the person, Justin Maury, the suspect in that case, went to prison for 20 years. They made a complaint, and I bet Metro Nashville won't stop them anymore. So Cameron Sexton, Speaker of the Tennessee House of Representatives, collected $92,071 in per diems reserved for members living more than 50 miles from Nashville. His family lived in Nashville the whole time, so he's collecting a per diem, which was, if you're in the House of Representatives, you got money. If your family, if you had to drive more than 50 miles to Nashville where you had to work in the House of Representatives. So he listed that he lived in Cookeville, more than 50 miles away, but he lived in Nashville, and he was collecting the per diem like he was driving that far. The whole time he lived in Nashville, he collected $92,000, almost $100,000 that he stole from you. The hidden house. And he tried to cover up where he lived at. Tried to cover it up. We'll show you here. He tried to cover up where he lived at, because he lived in Nashville. He lived in Nashville, and he didn't drive more than 50 miles. So he's not driving more than 50 miles, collecting $100,000 from you. Speaker of the House of Representatives, making laws for you. In September 2021, Sexton bought a $589,900 home in West Nashville. So he's collecting a per diem like he's living in Crossville, excuse me. Collecting a per diem like he's living 50 miles away, having to drive $100,000, but he's living right in Nashville where he didn't live 50 miles away. And he bought a $589,900 home in West Knoxville, a 2,600 square foot bedroom luxury residence. So these are the gods living in luxury houses while people are losing their homes because of the rent right now, skyrocketing. He's living in a luxury home, public servant. Lying. He's living in a luxury apartment, lying about it. Collecting more money like he's traveling a long distance. And you're a government representative. Do you trust him to make laws? He's got a 2,600 square foot, 4-bedroom luxury residence, but his name appears nowhere on the deed. He hid it, a secret trust. So he don't want you to know that he's cheating you if he's doing it legitimately, which is what lawyers have said that are Republican lawyers, because he's Republican, they're backing up the Republicans, lawyers backing up other liars. If it is legitimate, because the lawyers have said, well, a lot of politicians own 2 houses. So what's the problem? If it's legitimate, why is he hiding it? But he's hiding it because he's getting $100,000 because he's not driving more than 50 miles. And he hid the fact that he's living in Knoxville through an elaborate scheme. And I'll show you the scheme. I've got the documents. I pulled them up. But his name appears nowhere on the deed. He hid it behind a secret trust, the Buchanan Trust, with a trustee listed in Utah named Bryant Bryce. So his name ain't on the deed. But he lives in Nashville, but you can't trace it because his name ain't on the deed. Because he wants you to think he lives in Cookeville driving 50 miles, but he's not. He's got his house under Buchanan Trust in Utah, so you wouldn't know. His daughter is enrolled in Nashville private school. Neighbors told reporters he was rarely seen in Crossville because he didn't live there, but he's collecting $100,000 Now that's nothing to them. That's not a drop in the bucket. They make a lot of money off wealthy donors that buy the law in their favor, in corporations' favor above you. I've seen that happen in real time right here in Knoxville. These corporations get whatever the hell they want, and to hell with you. And that's the problem. It's a huge problem, more than you think. And that's what I think. I know what the government tells you. He says it's legitimate. A lot of politicians own 2 houses. People don't buy houses and collect a per diem that they're acting like they're traveling over 50 miles when they're not. They don't cover their house that they're really living in up so that they can protect that per diem. That's obviously a financial scheme to defraud taxpayers, to defraud you by the sitting House representative right now. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's very crooked, and this is just money. This isn't as bad as the lives that they cost. So his daughter's enrolled in a private school in Nashville. He lives in Nashville. He's lying about it. Nashville reporters said he was rarely seen. Neighbors told reporters he was rarely seen in Crossville. That's not an oversight. That's a plan. You don't set up a secret Utah trust by accident. I pulled the deed myself. And Davidson County, Tennessee Public Record, parcel number, I've got our 090-12-1A 018.00. Instrument number, there's a number here, recorded September 21st, 2021. So he's been getting that since 2021. Owner of the record, Buchanan Trust. Trustee, Brett Bryce, Utah. Purchase price, $589,900. The property is now worth $714,400, almost $1 million house. Your state representative lives in. He has 2. One he says he lives in Crossville, so he can collect a per diem like he's driving over 50 miles. One he really lives in Nashville, a luxury apartment worth almost $1 million. Probably $1 million now. Cameron Sexton's name is nowhere on this document. How do I know it's his? He's trying to conceal it. Why is he trying to conceal it if it's all above board? I didn't take somebody's word for it. I pulled the record myself, and it is right here. It is right here. Here's the deed to his, and I've marked out the address. I'm not going to dox him like they did me, put my picture on the front page of the paper numerous weeks, saying I did some horrific things. Hey, this is his picture. This is where he's at, out of Knoxville. Go hunt him down and kill him, which is exactly what they're trying to do. He let a young baby die. This is the trooper that did it. He's in Knoxville. Yeah, I mean, that's what they did. They doxed me. And reporters came to my son's school, chased my children down, my juvenile children down. I mean, state-run media did that. Just about all of them here in Knoxville. Crooked news media. Crooked as hell. Now they figured out I'm going to stand up to them, that I'm not afraid of them, that maybe the person they're chasing is chasing them. I mean, let's get it right. I'm not running from any damn body. That never got anybody anything. Stand up to them. That's what I'm trying to convince Tennesseans to do. Stand up to these people. Win or lose, stand up to them. That's the way it's done. They're cowards, they'll lose. So he's saying that he lives in Crossville, but here's his deed to his house, but his name's on it because he's concealing it, but his wife's name's on it. It's under, here's his wife right here, her signature on the deed. Because it's the same signature that she signed putting him on the ballot as one of the people. You have to get so many signatures to get on the ballot to be elected. She signed that, his petition seeking State House representative, and that's the same signature that's on his house in Nashville. So he put the house under the name of Buchanan Trust, the whole subdivision, and his wife's name's on the deed, trying to conceal that. Warranty deed. And trying to conceal the address of the deed. So I marked it out, and that's her signature right here. That's her signature. And here it is right here. His wife's signature, same one, 589,000 affiant. The actual consideration value, whichever is greater for the transfer, is affiant. So that is his wife's signature on the deed. And here's the deed signed under the code name of the business that he ran, that he had signed to cover up this transaction where nobody knows where he lives, so that he can live in Nashville and collect a per diem of $100,000. And that's our state representative. Now, that's not how they tell you to think. They tell you to think, well, a lot of politicians have 2 houses, but they don't collect $100,000 per diem, and they don't lie about them owning a house in Nashville. And I pulled the records. I didn't take somebody's word. The signature on the deed, labeled affiant, no printed name, just a cursive signature. Researcher Judd Liggum at Popular Information matched that signature, Lacey Sexton's signature, on her husband's 22 nominating petition. Same handwriting, same petition on that deed where he lives in Nashville, at that address. His wife signed the deed. His bank financed the deed. His name is on neither, so he's concealing it. His own bank. The loan was made by one bank of Tennessee, the Crossville branch. Cameron Sexton sits on that bank's board of directors. Cameron Sexton works there in business development. Hello. The Crossville condo and the Nashville house were both financed on the same day, same bank, same date, same promissory note. He used his own bank to hide his own house, and his name still appears on none of it. The perjury question. In 2022 nominating petition, Cameron Sexton swore under penalty of perjury that he was a qualified voter in the Crossville district. Tennessee law states the place where a married person's spouse and family live is presumed to be the person's residence. His wife and children lived in Nashville. He swore otherwise. Under oath, that's not residence question, that's a perjury question. That's in our House of Representatives right now, leading the whole House. That's not how they want you to think about it. They want to say, a lot of politicians have 2 houses. They don't collect a per diem and go to an elaborate scheme to keep their name off the deed. They do that in order to swindle your tax money out of you to get a per diem that they're not due. Drives minutes, not even 50 miles. The pages they removed. I searched for this deed on the national government website. Results came back. Bacarni Trust, the top resulted, date 23rd, 2026, said this. The page you requested was removed yesterday. The day before this broadcast, public records don't remove themselves. Somebody made a decision. The story is a removal now. You have to dig deeper to find the deed that I finally found. The foxhole. As Speaker, Sexton approves his own per diem expense form. So he approves his own per diem. Nobody above him, nobody checking. He also failed to pay property taxes on the Nashville home and only paid his Crossville taxes after media pressure. The fox guarding the hen house, hiding the house, signing the checks, pocketing the difference. The legal shield. In 2018, Nashville Mayor Megan Barry misused city money for a personal affair. Prosecuted under Tennessee theft of property law. She resigned, she pled guilty, the system moved fast. Campaign for Accountability filed a criminal investigation of Sexton, citing the exact same theft of property statute. The Davidson County District Attorney has done nothing. Same law, same state, same statute. Democratic mayor prosecuted, Republican speaker protected. That's not a legal system, that's a political one. Google knows it. I searched Bacarni Development online. Google's own search results confirm the development gained attention in local news regarding political figures, specifically as the name of the trust used by Tennessee House Speaker Cameron Sexton for a property purchase. Even Google connects his name to that address, 6 layers of independent public records, all pointing to the same man and the same fraud. Now that's how I want you to think. Here's the property, and it's under Beacon Trust. Beacon Lane, Beacon Trust. And here it is, the house. That he's almost $1 million house that he's got, not in his name, in his wife's name, under Beacon Trust. The whole subdivision is under that Beacon Trust. So what a fraudster. Now they won't tell you how to think that way. They won't tell you to think that way. Challenge how they tell you to think. Politicians have, a lot of politicians have a lot of houses. A lot of politicians have houses. Do they go to the Beacon Lane owner, Beacon Trust? No, it's not. It's owned by Cameron Sexton in his wife's name. A lot of politicians don't go through an elaborate scheme to mislead the public about their ownership of a house. They don't do that. And I'm marking out the address. I'm not going to dox him like they dox me. Charlotte Park is only a few blocks away from the Rock Harbor Marina, offering residents easy access to recreate activities on the water. This is where he lives. Developments also gained attention in local news regarding public figures, specifically as the name of a trust used by Tennessee House Speaker Cameron Sexton for a property purchase. So yeah, he's got it made, doesn't he? Do you have it made right now? The people that are raising your gas taxes, lying to you about fixing the roads, getting per diem money for living in Crossville when they have conducted an elaborate scheme that's been uncovered. That's how I would ask you to think. Cameron Sexton sponsored payday loans at 279% effective annual interest rate while sitting on a bank board while drawing a bank paycheck. So these are the gauntlet. It is unreal what these people do. That's not legislation, that's a transaction. He sponsored payday loans at 279.5% effective annual interest while sitting on a bank board. So he sponsored 279% interest for you, but the bank gets the interest that he sets on the board. The payday loan owners, Michael and Tanya Hodges, gave Sexton his PAC $105,000 over a decade. So he's allowing them to raise the interest rate, sky-high interest, because they're paying into his PAC, into his political campaign, political action committee. So he's allowing them to have banking regulations in their favor that charge an unjust usury for his own benefit, and they give money to his campaign that they've got from usury. So it's just a little circle there that benefits them that you pay. Their company, Advanced Financial, sued 110,000 Tennesseans since 2015, more debt collection lawsuits than any other lender in the state. That's not a business, that's a collection machine with a legislature on retainer. And that's your Tennessee government. And it's really not funny, but it's so devastating and so criminal and so wicked and so corrupt, so gluttonous behavior. It ought to make people furious, and they're sticking this stuff in your face. You take it or else. I'm not taking this. I'm not taking it. I'm telling you, subscribe to the channel. Let's get this word out. He's the go-to man when the news media wants to know this comment about the government. They listen to him. I'm telling you, listen to him with a damn mountain of salt because he's lying to you about almost every damn thing. The sports book. The Hodges also ran a sports book auction 247 out of their payday loan storefronts. A customer could walk in, borrow money at 279.5% interest. That's a usury rate. That's excessive high rate of interest. And he could bet it at the same counter. So he made it legal to go in and borrow money that you don't own at a high interest rate and bet it away. The only sports book in America owned by a payday lender. Only one in America. Most corrupt state in the United States of America. Approved by our legislature that's getting your tax money for driving over 50 miles, that he's not driving over 50 miles, that's getting a kickback from the company that he's making laws for so they can pay into his political pack. What corruption at its worst. That's not innovation, that's a predator with two products. And the interference. The Tennessee Education Lottery Corporation suspended Action 24/7's licenses. So part of the government tried to intervene in his corruption. Sexton met with two lottery board members. Former member Susan Longden confirmed he made clear he was not happy. He's not happy because they were making it illegal for that loan company to keep their license. They're charging too much interest and having a betting place at the place. So they pulled their license from Advance Payday Financial Company. But Cameron Sexton was getting money for his political pack, so he don't want them shut down. You can't do that. I don't care if it's not good for the public. It's not good for my power. Sexton met with two lottery board members and made it clear he wasn't happy. Of course he's not. Sexton then sponsored legislation stripping the lottery board of sports betting oversight. So he took the power away from his company to take their license away. So they're making laws to make their criminal conduct legal. They do it all the damn time. The sportsbook voluntarily shut down in January 2026. The donor called, the speaker delivered, the loopholes remain legal in Tennessee today. Sexton sponsored legislation stripping the lottery board of sports betting oversight. The investigation into Action 24/7 ended. The sportsbook voluntarily shut down in January 2026. The donor called, the speaker delivered, the loophole remains legal in Tennessee. The explosion connection. Now this is where the expulsion connection. Now this is where these people are racist people. The same speaker, Cameron Sexton, that expelled Representative Justin Jones and Justin Pearson in 2023. Now I don't agree with a lot of their politics. I agree with their right to have their politics, to speak their piece and say their mind. I agree with that, 150,000%. But Cameron Sexton voted to have them expelled from the House of Representatives for protesting gun violence on the House floor after the Covenant School shooting killed 6 people. Both were black. Both reinstated within days. The white representative who joined the protest was not expelled. Same rules, different applications, same speaker, same pattern. Representative Lowell Russell, who is a representative in Monroe County that has a white supremacist compound in Monroe County, who probably has a lot of white supremacist votes in Monroe County, voted as a House of Representatives from Monroe County, who got elected probably from a lot of white supremacists, voted to expel the 2 black members and keep the white member. So you tell me racism at its worst by these people in government power. And I'm not afraid to say I'm not a white supremacist. And I don't care how they tell me to vote, I would be fair. 16 workers died. Now this is the horrific stuff where people are getting killed because they're getting their billfold filled up. As far as to the governor's office, Accurate Energy Systems, an explosive manufacturing plant in McEwen, Tennessee, October 10th, 2025. Just a few days ago, under the current administration, alive and well right now. But the people that they were supposed to protect aren't alive and well. They're 6 foot underground, 16 of them, horrifically. But they benefited financially, so they run cover for them. 16 workers killed, 7 injured. The criminal record. They knew. They didn't care. As long as you give them money. The man running the plant, John Sunday, served 5 months in federal prison in 2008. So the governor knew, or should have known, for ordering the use of substandard explosive in shoulder-fired Navy missiles. So the owner of that plant previously got sent to federal prison because he sold stuff to our military soldiers that could go to war that didn't work, putting our military, the sovereignty of America, on the line. Committed a federal crime and went to prison for it. He sold substandard explosives to the military, to our soldiers. They couldn't have protected themselves. They didn't have the explosives that they needed. What a horrific, evil, wicked man. But that made no damn bit of difference to the Christian Governor Bill Lee. They patted his pocket, helped him get in power. A convicted federal criminal running an explosive plant. Still, sitting governor gave him a contract. Still getting state grants. Nobody stopped him, nobody flagged him. The machine just kept cutting him checks. Tennessee inspected the explosive plants exactly once in roughly 20 years. Knowing that he sold substandard equipment. Why did they do that for? February, I'll tell you why. February 2020, Governor Bill Lee personally announced a $601,000 Tennessee fast track grant for his company. So he gave a fast track grant to the owner of a munitions company where the owner had previously went to prison for making substandard equipment to the military and didn't expect them for 20 years. John Sonny was quoted in the governor's own press release, September 23rd, 2015, 7 days before the explosive. The U.S. Army awarded this company a sole bid $120 million TNT contract. The Sonny family, this is why, donated to Bill Lee between 2017 and 2021. Here's the way it works. Donor, then they give him a grant, contract, explosion, in that order. That's the reason why Governor Lee went and gave him a contract, because they gave him money to get in power and to stay in power. After 16 workers died, Governor Lee held a press conference and ran cover for him, ran interference. Defended the company. That's not a mistake. That's a tell. Defended a company that the owner was selling substandard munition to the military, got convicted, he knew, should have known, and then the owner gives him campaign money to help him run for public office, so he pays them back by giving a convicted felon a contract with state money to repay the donor money. Sounds like a cycle where you give them money, you're going to get it back. Yeah, that's just crooked as hell. The response, after 16 workers died, Lee held a press conference and defended the company. That's not a mistake, that's a tell. A few days after the explosion, comes out there, runs interference for them. Tennessee workplace safety investigators issued a $3 million in penalties, highest in the state, just recently. That's one inspection, a 2019 visit over workers suffering seizures from toxic chemical exposures. Produced a $7,200 fine. The company contested it, settled it with no admission of wrongdoing. 16 workers are dead. The fine was less than a used car. They recently fined them several million dollars, but that $3.1 million, but that goes to the state government, not to the victims. A maintenance supervisor, Greg McRow, saw a fire inside the same building where workers later died. He grabbed a garden hose and put it out himself. Then he reported it through proper channels. They fired him for it. The man who tried to save lives fired. The plant that killed 16 workers got a $6 $100,000 state grant because they contributed to the governor's political campaign for him to stay in power or get power. In Tennessee, if you report danger, you lose your job. If you donate to the governor, you get a check. I'm telling you how I think you ought to think. 59 willful violations. No sprinklers in the building where workers died. Victims' families are demanding $150 million. A convicted criminal, a governor's donor, 16 bodies, and the government gets the fine money. That's not an accident, that's a system working exactly as it's designed, for them, by them. Let's go to the gauntlet of serious pain inflicted on Tennesseans by people in government power. Sober drivers in handcuffs. 2,547 people arrested for driving under the influence in Tennessee since 2017. Every single one tested negative for alcohol and drugs. 2,547 innocent people handcuffed, charged, lives disrupted. I work for the Tennessee Highway Patrol. I know about this. How does that happen? It shouldn't. Never happened. It didn't happen to me. Internal Tennessee Highway Patrol emails rank troopers by arrest count. A recorded supervisor told troopers directly, you turn in 33 DUIs for a year, 1.7 contracts, you're going to get spanked. Tennessee Highway Patrol officials deny quotas. The recording system says otherwise. So they have a quota for the lower echelon of troopers forced to make arrest and ruin people's lives. And people like Matt Perry don't have to do a damn thing sitting in office protected. The trooper James Zine, at least 8 documented wrongful arrests, including a former federal prosecutor, 17 years sober, arrested by Trooper Zine. So as of March 2026, Zine was still employed after a 4-hour training session. 3 federal lawsuits filed against him in April 30th, 2026. Wonder who his daddy is. 4 hours of training, 80 innocent people arrested, still on the road, still in uniform. It's not that hard to figure out when people are drunk. It's the ones bouncing off telephone poles. So the Tennessee Highway Patrol Commander, Matt Perry, refused every interview request. I went to the academy with Matt Perry. The same Matt Perry that his daddy would not allow him to be sprayed with chemical spray, and every other class previous to him was sprayed. He's protecting his boy. Who's your daddy? Was filmed getting to his car and driving away from a reporter. Then testifies to lawmakers. He testified about the 2,500 over false arrests. Not one arrest was improper. 2,547 sober people, not one improper arrest. That testimony is either ignorance or a damn lie, and it's a damn lie. He knows. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation underreported sober arrests by 4 times, 4 years. They didn't even report it right. 609 reported. When pushed, they've come out with 2,547. A government agency protecting a government agency. Only disclosed after a 2026 transparency law forced it. So they don't even tell you the level of government corruption that they're involved in until they're forced to. Now, the agency hiding the numbers or the agency keeping the numbers? So I'm not telling you how they tell you to think. They told you 609 was all the false arrests they made. Over 2,000. I'm telling you the facts, and I'm telling you how I think that you should think. And I'll be blunt about it. From Cameron Sexton to THP, and we got some more, that Mission and the new trap. In spring 2026, the Tennessee Highway Patrol announced breathalyzer for all troopers just here recently. The announcement is a confession dressed up as a solution. Here's how it used to work. Probable cause for DUI arrest had to be established by physical observation. So previously, when you got stopped, if the trooper suspected or the officer suspected that you were drunk or impaired off drugs or alcohol, they couldn't just hook you up to a machine and get a number based on a machine faulty or otherwise. They had to determine, a human being signed the warrant. A human being had to determine whether you were impaired, whether you're unsafe to drive, by your physical actions, your demeanor. And that's why they give you sobriety tests, so they can determine if you wobble by putting your feet together. That's what sobriety tests are designed for. So they had to give you a sobriety test and determine based on the sobriety test whether you were impaired without any kind of mechanical device. Now, they got the breathalyzer out there where you could pass a sobriety test easy, and the breathalyzer say you're drunk and give them a number, and they go on the number. So they're using a machine to lie for them now instead of the trooper line. So probable cause for a DUI arrest had to be established by physical observation, and they got that wrong. Is the driver slurring, stumbling, the human being in front of the trooper determining the arrest? And you could see that on camera. That's why they film stuff. You can see people falling over. The trooper said they were unsteady on their feet. If you can see them swaying, they're unsteady on their feet. And I'm telling you, they're going to arrest you for drunk driving based on a machine now. I know, I did that. I was the best at it in the whole damn state. Look at the numbers. I didn't get them 0-0. Every one came back with alcohol or drugs in the system, with the exception of one that was made because somebody had a car wreck prior to the arrest, out of thousands. But they used to be able to testify the person was unsteady on the feet. You can look at the video and see if they're unsteady on the feet. The trooper testified they stepped off the line 3 times. That indicated they were drunk when they're walking the line. You can look on the video. Did they step off 3 times? A good lawyer would look at the video and watch and see if they stepped off the line 3 times. If they didn't, then the trooper's lying under oath. And that's what they've determined on all these sobriety tests, that the trooper's not reporting the facts accurately, that these people aren't drunk in some cases. Now, they're getting a machine and saying the number says they're drunk and asking you to don't believe your lying eyes, what the camera shows, believe the machine that they control. So the breathalyzer came after confirmation, not cause. That's the constitutional order. Observation first, machine second. Now they're going to give you the machine. Stop people blowing the machine. You blow over 0.08, they take you to jail based on that number. Here's what they're building now: a system where a machine determines everything. No physical test required, just blow into this. You can test above the legal limit, still be physically safe to drive. The legal limit is a legislative line, not a medical fact. Physical observation was the check on the line. Now they're removing the check. Who controls the breathalyzer? Who maintains it? Who calibrates it? Who certifies it? The same agency that denied the quotas while recording proved otherwise. The same agency that underreported arrests by 4 times. The same commander who drove away from a reporter. And now that agency owns a machine that decides your freedom. And do you trust them? They couldn't make the rigged physical test invisible enough. And I know from experience, they've replaced human judgment with a machine number. It looks science. It looks like objectivity. It's neither. It's a miscalibrated breathalyzer. Doesn't look like corruption. A miscalibrated breathalyzer, you can't tell. It prints a number and the number ends your night. They're not fixing the quota system. They're re-automating it. Before they needed a trooper willing to lie about what he saw. Now they just need a machine nobody is allowed to question. Stop the breath test arrest. Restore probable cause to what it always was: a human being failing a physical test in front of a witness. The trooper and you, the camera, and you in a jury. Not a number on the machine controlled by the agency doing the arrest. That's not reform. That's a cover-up with a battery pack. That's what they're doing to you now. And I know what I'm talking about. My boots have been on the ground, made hundreds and hundreds of DUI arrests, more than anybody in the state, effectively, accurately, never sued, except one time for a false arrest, and the person admitted that they were under the influence and failed sobriety test and was convicted by a jury. Your electronic bill paid for her bodyguards. Nashville Electric Service, your power company, January 2026, winter storm. 230 Nashville families lost power for days. The security bill, while you sat in the dark, Nashville Electric Service spent $147,000 of your ratepayers' money on 24-hour security guards at the CEO's private home, 12-hour security at the chief operating officer's private home, additional security at headquarters. You lost power, she got bodyguards, you paid for it because people were so mad. The call on January 27th, 2 days into the storm, U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn office called the CEO directly, asked for a status update on the senator's Brentwood neighborhood. The CEO personally messaged the supervisor twice to put Blackburn's circuit to the top. The senator's neighborhood got crews the next day. You sat in the dark. She made the call. Her lights came on. A Nashville representative said it on the House floor. You don't act like a United States senator and call up and say, get out here and turn my lights on while other people are going without power. And then you turn on the CEO because of public pressure and you say inflammatory stuff about them to where they have to have security that you don't pay for. The taxpayers that you hung out have to pay for the security and had to do without lights. They take care of themselves and hang you out to dry. The gauntlet of stuff in Tennessee. The tree money. The year before the storm, Nashville Electric Service cut $7 million from its tree trimming budget, from $21 million down to $13.9 million. The CEO signed the annual report showing that cut. She used it to claim 6% reduction in operating expenses. A lot of those trees fell on houses. Tree and branch contact with power lines was a dominant cause of outages during the storm. They saved money on trees, you lost power for days. She got a performance number, you got the dark. That's how the government works for you. It doesn't, it works for them. The lobbying bill. After the storm, Nashville Electric Service hired 4 lobbying and PR firms with your ratepayer money, including Bill Lee's former chief of staff, including Bill Haslam's former chief of staff, Mark Cate. Mark Cate, the same man who sat on the committee that awarded a $300 million no-bid state contract in 2013, the same man who dined at the governor's residence with contractors before that contract expanded. The same is a revolving door. The same names decades later, still spinning, still billing you. They got it all set up for themselves, don't they? The speaker is a convicted felon and somebody's not talking. So let's continue. The gauntlet, it's numerous. How they put you in pain and suffering and benefit off of it. They benefit off your demise. So, former Tennessee House Speaker Glenn Costa convicted May 16, 2025 of 17 federal counts: bribery, money laundering, fraud, theft of federal funds. The scheme was Costa and his chief of staff, Cade Cothran, created a fake company, Phoenix Solutions, ran by a fictitious employee, Matthew Phoenix, who never existed. They funneled over $200,000 in state funds and campaign money through his ghost company. Representative Smith pled guilty in 2022. Costa convicted on 17 counts. Costa was convicted on 17 counts. Costa was convicted on all 19. A sitting Speaker of the House, a ghost employee, your tax dollars. The recording. During trial, a recorded conversation was played in open federal court in Nashville. Costa's own voice saying current Speaker Cameron Sexton knew about the scheme. We've already talked about Cameron Sexton. And didn't want his name associated with it. The record exists. It was played in federal courtroom. Cameron Sexton knew. The wire question. The defense asked the court, did Cameron Sexton wear an FBI wire against his own colleagues? I wouldn't put it past him. The judge blocked that question from the jury. Sexton was subpoenaed last year as a star witness. He never testified. After the verdict, the House Republican caucus thanked Sexton for being instrumental in uncovering their illegal activities. Instrumental how? With what? Against whom? Who did the recording? What's on those tapes? Are there other legislatures in the crosshairs? Nobody will answer that question. The Tennessee press has let him walk. The cover-up. The current Speaker of the Tennessee House must have worn a federal wire against sitting legislators. May have recorded conversations now in FBI files. May have information about ongoing investigations never disclosed to the public. That's not a rumor. That's an unanswered question for a federal criminal trial. May have information about ongoing investigations never disclosed to the public. The voters of Tennessee deserve an answer. Cameron Sexton, what did you record and who else is on those tapes? The gas tax stolen in plain sight. You're paying higher gas tax today. Bill Haslam raised your gas taxes in 2017. Called it the Improve Act. Promised 962 roads projects completed in 10 years. Tennessee Department of Transportation later admitted, and he knew it at the time, that it would take 20 years. The diversion, $187 million every single year, money you paid at the pump, specifically for roads. That's what he promised you when he raised your gas tax, that it's for roads. It's okay, you're going to benefit from the better roads. But money you paid at the pump specifically for roads was diverted away from highways into the state general fund to be spent on whatever the political class decided. So the gas tax for the roads supposed to be 20 years, supposed to be 10 years, admitted later after the tax that it couldn't be completed for 20 years, and part of the money for the gas tax wasn't for the roads like they promised. It was diverted into the general fund, like the emergency fund. That's not your emergency fund, it's their emergency fund for them. So it's to be spent on whatever the political class wanted, almost identical to the amount diverted the year before the gas tax increase. The tax went up, the diversion continued, you paid more, the roads got the same. The trade. Same bill, same governor, same year. Raised gas taxes on working people driving to work. That's what the government's doing to you. They're raising taxes on you. Eliminate the inheritance tax on billionaires, passing down fortunes. Eliminated the gas tax on the super wealthy. Haslam was worth $2 billion. He raised your tax, he eliminated his own class tax. That's not coincidence, that's a policy written by people it benefits. So he raised your gas taxes, lied about it. The money that you paid in gas tax didn't go into roads. Part of it was diverted to the government general fund for him. And he ran the general fund. And then he ended his inheritance tax only for the super rich. That's not a coincidence. That's a policy written by people it benefits. The audit nobody did. Let's talk about that. Hello. The audit nobody did. So subscribe to the channel. We're going through the gauntlet of stuff that your Tennessee government does almost on a daily basis. Crooks in power. Like, share, comment. Make sure our volume's on here. It is. We got the contracts on the top 20 highway projects funded by the gas tax. Who got the contracts on the top 20 highway projects funded by this gas tax? How many change orders were filed after contracts were awarded? Who owns the land next to the corridors being widened? Those are public records. Nobody in Tennessee media has pulled them. The bottom line, you paid more at the pump. The roads took longer. The billionaires paid less. The connected contractors got deals. That's not infrastructure. That's a wealthy transfer dressed up as a highway bill. It's what that is. So let's talk about gerrymandering. They rigged the map and handed us the keys. Tennessee Republicans gerrymandered every congressional district to eliminate Democratic competition. In 2022, split Nashville district eliminated a longtime Democratic seat. May 26th, doing it again on President Trump's direct orders. What gerrymandering actually does, they draw the lines to guarantee one party wins every district. They eliminate competition. They make your vote mathematically irrelevant before you ever walk into the polling place. That's not democracy, that's the managed outcome, and both parties do it. The math they missed, when you draw out all the Democrats, every independent voter, every fed up voter, every person done with parties has exactly one place left to go, us. We don't have to beat two parties anymore. We only have to beat one. The Republicans eliminated the opposition for us. When enough Republican voters sick of being lied to, and we don't just win the governorship, we own the entire apparatus they built. The redistrict legislature, the redrawn congressional seats, the whole machine. They spent years rigging the game. They rigged it straight into our hands. The most corrupt political class in America just handed an independent candidate the blueprint to take them all down. We're taking it. Are you sick of this stuff? One-man machine, no quit. It was never about me. Nearly 3 million views. Zero corporate backing. 18 years of commissioned law enforcement experience, a law degree, 3 federal cases, 1 on the record, still standing. What they did to me, the Tennessee Board of Law Examiners denied me my bar application twice and cited my own campaign speech as the reason. My public words used against me legally to silence me. I filed a federal civil rights case with my own hands. It's case number 326 CV 00020, Eastern District of Tennessee. Look it up. 7 constitutional violations, First Amendment, retaliation, structural bias. I named them, I documented, I filed it myself. The case is alive right now. I try to be a force to contend with. Don't let them get by with their corruption. As my mother used to say, don't let might beat right. The court cover. When courts rule against me, they point to it like it proves something. And the people on the channel, a lot of people saying, well, you did this and you did that. It proves the machine has reach. Think about who sits on these courts appointed by the same governors I'm exposing. Confirmed by the same legislators I'm investigating. A court ruling in their favor isn't justice. It's the machine guarding its own homework. I know what the law says. I know what the facts say. I know the difference between a legal ruling and a political one. They haven't beaten me on the merits. They beat me on the connections. That's not legitimacy. That's the cover-up in action. And if you think they'll just do that to me, they're doing it to you every day. Did you buy gas today? What they're doing to you, the rig gas tax, the hidden deed I pulled myself that I just showed you, the dead workers, the sober drivers in handcuffs, the secret trust, the inherited billions, the breathalyzer replaced your constitutional rights, the gerrymandering map that replaced your vote. They're doing it all of that to you. God put me through this to know, to see it for myself, to be able to have the fire and the fury and the experience to expose it. Subscribe to the channel, contribute, like, and share. The court rulings look legitimate. They're supposed to. That's the whole point. They manufacture legal cover for corruption so you think the system worked. It didn't work. It was designed. Their court rulings aren't based on fact. They will rule that gravity doesn't exist. It does. They lie in their court rulings. Why I'm still here. I'm not suicidal. I don't take unnecessary chances. If something happens to me, it's probably somebody in the government that did it. But I'm not stopping either. I've seen the inside of the machine. I know how it operates. I know it's dressed up corruption in a legal language and calls it a ruling. I know how it fires whistleblowers and protects donors. I know how it buries workers and defends companies. I know how it arrests sober drivers and promotes the troopers who did it. I know how it hides a house behind a secret trust and bills you $92,000 for the commute that didn't happen. And I'm the only person on this ballot who fought with it with their own hands and is still standing. That was never about what they did to me. This is about what they're doing to you. That's why God put me through this. I'm just the one willing to say it out loud. $20 right now. I just gave you about 2 hours of documented fact. Named officials, named companies, named victims, pulled records. I pulled myself on the podcast, deeds, tax records, court documents, recording, supervisors. I strung it all together for free, nearly over 2 hours for nearly 3 million people. The honest truth, that costs money. Every broadcast costs time I could spend earning somewhere else. My taxi business is winding down. I have a retirement check that keeps the lights on, barely. They exploited and cheated me out of most of that. Nearly 3 million views, 4,400 subscribers. That gap tells me people are watching and they're nodding, but no, I'm telling the truth, and they move on. The people in power are counting on that. They are counting on me running out of money and time before I finish what I started. $20 a month, that's it. Less than a tank of gas, less than 2 meals out. $20 a month from people watching changes everything. If you can't do 20, do 10. If you can do 50, do 50. If you've been watching this channel for a year and have never given $1, today is the day. The link is right in the video, in the description, what it funds. Your $20 funds the energy to get the story, the equipment that captures it, the gas to get there, energy, the time to research it, build it, and put it in front of the people who need to see it. One man, zero institutional support, nearly 3 million views, holding power for people accountable in Tennessee and throughout the world. We have viewers in Canada, UK, Australia, and throughout the world. Thank you all very much. Holding people accountable in Tennessee with zero help from the institutions that are supposed to do the job, but actively work against it. That's what $20 does. So I'm telling you the truth about the cost and asking you to decide if it's worth it to you. If you believe government accountability matters, if you believe somebody needs to say these things nobody else will say, at the level and fierceness and truthfulness that I'm saying it, if you believe Stop the Cover-Up is more than a slogan, then fund it. The machine is counting on you, not giving. Every dollar you spend proves them wrong. $20 right now on the link below. I'm Charles Van Morgan. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. Verify, don't trust. Stop the Cover-Up. Donate via the antidote. So God loves you, and I do too. And we'll try to be back on here again.